Okay, so tonight we have Scott McCarney. He's a Rochester, New York-based artist. So I really appreciate him staying up late tonight to give us a talk. And thank you everybody for coming early. He has done his works are span several decades, very personal, very visual. Had kind of been seeing his work around, but we met for the first time tonight, and I was interested, and I just emailed him and said, "Would you speak to us? I've really been enjoying what I'm looking at in small pieces," and he agreed. So I'm really excited about that. His work is in collections around the world, and I have found out that there are actually 13 of his books in the Special Collections Library at UW. So if you are really excited to see one and put your hands on it, they are available. And when I put the link in for the recording on our website, I'll also include the link to get his listing of the books that they have at Special Collections. So I'm going to stop that and turn it over to Scott. Well, looks like Catherine put a link in for the Word Garden workshop. Thank you very much. Why is this not featuring? I'm sorry, everyone. Hold, please. Sorry for the recording, the people watching the recording. I cannot find the thing that says spotlight this speaker. But if I just shut up and Scott starts speaking, it should work.
Well, maybe let's see if I can find me here. Um,
Well, I'll keep looking in the background, and as long as I don't say anything, it'll show you while you're talking.
oh, that's interesting.
No, usually there's a little three-button thing.
Yeah,
Probably should have, I've never had a problem with this before, so
yeah, yeah. I'm getting the pin, but not the spotlight.
yeah. Wonder if they
Huh.
took that away. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
If
anyway, I just won't say anything because we're wanting to listen to you anyway. So please,
okay,
Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself and then let's see some of your work.
great. Well, thank you, Celine. I'm well. Let's see. I'm wondering if we can get my camera up here. I'm not seeing. I'm still seeing. mm,
We see you, except when
You
I
do
talk.
see me? Oh,
Yes.
good. Yeah, because I don't. I'll I'll pin myself here, and then I'll. Good. Sorry. So, hi everybody. Thank you for coming here, and thanks for the invitation, Celine. Um, so I've um, when I actually haven't really talked about my work in a while. So when the invitation came in, it was sort of an open, like an open call of whatever you want to do. That's great. So I started, kind of. I took a clue because it's the eve before St. Valentine's Day. Um, so I thought, well, that brought forward a lot of what I've been thinking about since the pandemic and beyond up till now, of how much the my work has been involved in some ways with familial kinds of activities or inspirations, and sort of in the background, it hasn't been certainly conscious. Um, so this whole process for me has been really kind of great because I've sort of have you'll be seeing a cross section of work that is related in this way when and in some ways I didn't actually see that relationship myself. So this has been it's been educational for me, as I hope it will be for you as well. Um, I was asked to do a little bit of a uh, um, uh, sort of a kind of a little background, kind of personal kind of stuff. So what I did is I loaded some slides into the for the background, literally the backgrounds of my Zoom here. And this is looking in the other direction in my studio. Where I'm sitting here is sort of like where the computer is sort of all darkened off here. So that's probably where more of the work, the handwork is on there. I'm really kind of an avid gardener. Rochester is sort of like a great place to garden, as the Northwest is as well. I've been inspired by a lot of the landscape up there, and of course it's at this time of year it's a little bit a little bit less so, but still there's a lot of interest in the garden that I try to keep out so that it's not too boring during the winter time. I do a lot of book fairs. This is a table from I think this might have been the Pittsburgh Book Fair last year, but I do book fairs in New York and LA, and I've been to Reykjavik and all different kinds of places, which has been really kind of fun. That's sort of has become the major way of showing my work, as it turns out. And or actually, people seeing it the way they actually should be seen, which is like picking it up and turning the pages. A lot of times, as you all probably know, the frustration of most exhibitions of books that are behind glass or in cases where you can't actually get much more than than just a page spread or so. And then the whole collecting thing. This is my library. Well, this is a wall in one of the rooms that's designated as a library. There's two rooms in my house that are actually. This is like the trade-ish book. There's also a kind of a one of a kind and special collections library. Every room in my house except the bathroom and the kitchen are basically a library. So, but this whole idea of collecting is something that I will kind of come back to repeatedly. Um, Let me just get back to a normal thing here. There. So what I'll do, I'm going to start by showing a set of autobiographies that I started putting together in in 1999. Actually, probably before that, but I didn't actually assemble them and get them into in a book form until that time. The These grew out of a purge I was doing of my files at the end of the year, and finding all of these collections of things that I had kept, and every folder really began to speak to me as like a little biography, or in this case a autobiography, since these were the things that about me. The very first one is this things to do. This one was a collection of checklists here, that I had kept over the course. This was 3 years. This is for Scuda. That name will come back several times here. But this is basically a reproduction at smaller scale of, 3 years worth of, checklists here. And it was kind of interesting going back, especially after 20 plus years, and seeing a lot of the kind of projects and things, you know, uh, kind of the repetition of things that, were being done, things that were going from list to list that hadn't been checked off, and then they just disappeared, which means they never really ever got done. Um, but the thing about this is that it was about another thing about never throwing anything away. All of these were printed on sheets that were I had kept from jobs that I was doing at the time. So these are proofs of, I was doing a lot of typesetting and book design and such. So I would, have just reams of this paper that was printed on one side. So a lot of the stuff that's on the back of these pages are referenced like in the checklist in terms of things that were, needed to be done on that. So there's a kind of a meta thing going on with that. This is just a little stapled little stab binding here, but I added these little ties to kind of make it a little bit more special there. The second one is called rejection slips here. And this one is it's unbound. It's just the letters that I received. This is 20 years worth of letters of things that were, you know, these were like photographs that I sent for publishing that were, weren't accepted. This is nice. This is a fellowship that I applied for 4 years in a row, and I was rejected. But then actually I was brought in for a review, but then finally got rejected. But you can kind of see that it's basically all cut and paste, exactly the same thing. But what's interesting is the names, well, the names of the fellowship secretaries and the coordinators kind of switch out, but the language is all still the same. So, it's a little bit of an analysis of all of this, how this is going along. Kind of nice things, little rejections or places where I ended up going back and teaching, places that I ended up going back to RIT. That's interesting. I was there for 17 years. Whereas my absolute favorite one here was from here it is, the Mid-Atlantic. This was, I think, a fellowship thing, but the director actually crossed out my name and made it, put Scott in there to make it like, to make the rejection that much more personal, I guess. I don't know. So, some ways this is a good way of dealing with rejection. Also, the size of this. I mean, I scaled it down so that there's a bit of a nice kind of psychology there too. The third one that I did came out of a folder of homemade maps that people had made for me while I was traveling. So you can probably tell between like the to-do list, the rejection slips and whatever. This is all stuff that doesn't happen anymore. I mean, we have the calendars on our phone, we have email, we have Google Maps. So people don't actually, or not. Sometimes they do, but sometimes I'll ask people to do it because I really want to have that record. But I really found just the drawings themselves end up being really kind of interesting. I love this one. I have no idea where this was, but it's a wonderful drawing. And the format of this one is it's sort of like like a roadmap that you would find where it's sort of just all comes out, into itself and through here, and there's sort of a snaky thing on that. Now this one was printed at an architectural firm on a large plotter printer. Each one of these books was uh, produced in a different format and also a different printing technique. This one that opens up, this is a little different. I was teaching a class. This was to grad students, and we were hanging out waiting for people to come back from lunch. And I just challenged the class to draw a map of the United States. And this was like a class of, well, there were probably about 15 people. And this is kind of like what we came up with. Uh, you know, like this, the Midwest is got this big, the Mississippi River is really wide in this one. But anyway, it's a good kind of an idea of how our mental relationship to the to our space around us. And this guy here, I found an envelope that had over 60 photographs of me made by other people that, again, I don't know, I don't remember actually consciously bringing these together, but there it was. So I went through and I sort of just pulled out the ones that I felt that were, famous and important people, which are all very, um, relative terms for sure. Literally relative. This is my brother Hugh here, my oldest brother on that. Being Santa. And so this one kind of has a little like a little folded format here that comes through, and we have different kinds of ones through here. This is the Charlotte Mormon, and here's some of the other. These are actually some famous people through here. And then yeah, for my partner Keith, Skuta, my friend, who I do a lot of collaborative work with here. And this one is also a format that's sort of a variation of that kind of 8-page zine format through here, but it's 16 pages and then incorporates a spine. So as you're reading it, you have this kind of relationship of going through here. So it's not quite so linear as a regular codex is in through here. Oh boy, I have there we go. My script got. So this next one is one which this is memory loss. This is actually can be seen in the, I'm pretty sure this is can be seen in the university collection there. It is a little bit difficult in this. I don't know if I can get a little bit more height out of here to get a little bit on that. But it's a hybrid format of a fold book and a palm leaf structure that has this, which are usually single sheets that are bound together with a cord or a string. But this one, the pages are, folded into this concertina. So I'll kind of have to do this like half and half, but it's a two-sided display that deals with two different approaches to the experience of pen injury. And specifically, this was my brother had an automobile accident in 1984 that rendered him with a traumatic brain injury. And this was back before there was a whole lot of knowledge about that specific kind of an injury. So I spent a lot of time trying to find information and not getting very very good sources. So this came about by um, in some ways putting myself and therefore putting the viewer, the reader, into the position of someone that's has had some rupture in what we think of as like a normal use or access to our memories. So this first side here, which is it's more of a distancing side. It's meant more to be kind of um, static, so that it's more the way you walk around or get different. You get this kind of renticular situation where images will line up as you um, go by and pass the book that's like seated on the table or propped up against the wall through here. Um, and the text and the language on this side is all very technical. It's from brochures and things that I picked up from doctors and centers that were trying to deal with this phenomenon at the time, which was not really very helpful. That's where the snakes came in through here, sort of like that. I mean, a little bit of a reference to the caduceus, but more the kind of den of snakes of how difficult it was to kind of navigate this whole situation. So I used photographs I made of my brother, but I also went into my own life and were photographing my friends so that you didn't quite couldn't tell exactly who it was. There were some, you know, just non-distinguishing features to the imagery. And then there's this very early, this was made in 1988. So this is a very early photo scan here that you really need to kind of get away from in order to have the images reach out and through here. So the book itself folds up into um, and back to a second side. And this one's a little bit more personal, and it's put together so that um, it's more the manipulation of the page that will bring things together. So it's more like this sort of reconstruction of images and memories and through here. So as you are as you're manipulating the pages, you're beginning to put things back together. But as you're doing that, you're hiding other things that are, kind of in juxtaposition and have some meaning to what it is that you're trying to put together. So this came about because I would ask my brother questions that he just would have no memory or recollection, but then, 20 minutes or a week later, he would be talking very freely about, about such things and that. So there's all different kinds of ways that this begins to play with the format, and also this idea of there's all this kind of reconstruction of language with these little word tiles here, and so trying again to kind of put put the viewer, to put me into the position of trying to um, reconstruct uh, all of this memory through here. So this was printed at the Visual Studies Workshop Press, and it's one of their press books, and it was printed offset on it's actually three press sheets that are glued together, then folded down. The covers, I don't know if you can really actually see, but the covers are sort of embossed. You can sort of see that a little bit on that. And this is a black cord mounting board, which actually scars pretty easily. So I like that because it actually has a memory. It will show, the more it gets used, the more little dings and kind of things that show up into the covers. So that's something that kind of was, the material nature of that worked out really nicely on and we didn't, oh, well, yeah. Feel free to ask questions um, as we go along, and we'll try to keep up with that. Uh, Another interesting thing here is that I had made this is a Venetian blind cord here. So it goes very smoothly through the papers. But the length of this was designed so that just pretty much so that it would be comfortable for me to open this, but to the point where it doesn't let the page go flat. I didn't want it to be a broadside. I wanted the peaks and valleys of the concertina to be, um, to keep the definition of that page. So I ended up with all of this cord, and I don't know, but miraculously it worked out by starting to wrap around this here to the end and up through here. It, oops, that it actually just fit perfectly by wrapping it around the boards in that way, which was totally unplanned. It was just like ergonomically somehow it worked out that the size and my wingspan made it pretty easy that way. So back to another autobiography. This one, which is just autobiography number 5. It has a typographic title of which my background is in graphic design and photography. So a lot of what I do has these little kinds of plays on the design of words, and it's sort of the way I think. So but I'll come back to that in a minute. But this is set up as a do-si-do book here, which is it's basically 2 books that have a common back cover here on that. And this is a combination of small collections that I found in my parents' effects after they had died, paired with little collections of my own. And in some ways, this was a little bit of an exercise of figuring out if I could justify my, like maybe it was a genetic kind of a thing, like there was actually a gene that was passed down, so I wouldn't feel so bad about all these little collections and things. But it started here with this little collection of little kind of demi-tasse and china stuff that my mother had kept, and and then I matched them with a collection of baseball caps that I'd collected through different travels and such. But you always end up, I don't know, I always end up not having a cap when I'm somewhere, so I have to buy one. Anyway, but I was making these relationships between either the place or the design of the cups, and then the caps that I had through here, and the postcards here. These are all postcards that I had found in a box that was labeled Scott's Correspondence. They had, I was pretty good about keeping in touch with them whenever I was traveling or whatever, off on, adventures and whatever. So, and they had kept those. It was really sweet to kind of to come across that. So what I had done was to scan both the picture side and then the message side, and then just electronically had fused those two together, to create this into here. Again, this sort of combination and melding of the of that that activity and relationship in some ways through here. Oh, that's a good one for Valentine's Day there. Anyway, and then my father's side here. Oh, and then I used this crochet motif on this side because my mother's uh, uh, you know creative outlet was knitting and crochet, and my father was an amateur woodworker, so his side here is in the wood. Now, what I found in his effects were this box of videotapes that where he had very meticulously noted everything that was on there and then crossing off if things were being taped over. Very much like my to-do lists from the very first autobiography that I had made. So again, this was a pairing of the things that he had done with the things that I had done, mining this activity for some sort of justification, perhaps. Ooh, another heart. Um, and just sort of like a fun thing. Obviously, all of this stuff, when I am the archivist, I guess, of the family, I'm the only one who would keep, you know, VHS tapes that have been recorded over time and time again. And again, this is not something that would be useful or even playable anymore. Anyway, um, so this was my little attempt at justifying that.
What does
And then I
that
did
name mean,
another
Scott?
thing that I found was my mom's recipe box, which she had kept years and years and years. And I'll go straight to the back here because it was the box itself um, was made by my father. So it had again this sort of like relationship between them and then passed along to me. So what I had done, I just went through and just made, as stated, a selection of cards. But what I had done was to choose ones. Hugh, again, is my oldest brother. Choose cards that were. Oh yeah, sorry. Thanks for pointing that out. This, the working title for this was Caps, Cups, Cops, because I figured, the caps, of course, the baseball caps, the cups, my mom's things, and the cops, there's a lot of like police procedural stuff on those videotapes. So that was the beginning of that. And so I kind of went back to just vowels like A, E, I, O, U, and of course I put the I is in the middle. So that's, it's always about the I. And this progression of different brackets, that comes through here. So it becomes, it's a very nice little typographic uh, thing, but totally unpronounceable, but certainly has, it's a language all unto itself. Thanks for that question. I forgot to mention that. So these recipes were chosen more for their visual aspect rather than their culinary, um, you know, uh, 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 merit. I mean, except I don't know, gold medal macaroni mousse. I remember some of these from your own parents, and then things too that were, from passed along from other relatives um, that came through. But then some things that were just, visually just really beautiful. I mean, look at this, that lattice pie. And oh, another heart. this, this was not planned, but it seems to be coming out It's kind of great. I had an exhibition at the Carey Collection at RIT a number of years ago, and Kari Horowitz, who was the curator and librarian for the School of Art and Design, um, had taken this lemon bar recipe and also this olive cheese olive balls and gave it to the service that does all the catering on campus. And they experimented. They actually made these for the reception of the show. And they were like, I mean, like industrial size trays of this stuff, which I was very impressed with that. On that. So, okay, let's see. I gotta get it on this. So this one's sort of coming back to me again, this sort of autobiography theme. This is Coming to Terms in ABCdarian. And I brought this started when I was doing a residency in New York City at a place called the International Studio and Curatorial Program. And my friend Skuda, who I've mentioned a couple of times, lives in New York, though he's Icelandic. And I was, always, going over there and spending time with him. And there was a little kind of stack of books in the lobby of his building that people would leave, sort of like leave a book, take a book kind of a thing. And I found this lovely little dictionary that is which is a psychiatric word book, lexicon of terms, and it just sort of, kind of as wont to do with, someone with this many, you know, I was just reading today of someone saying, well, the more kind of degrees that are listed after an author, the less reliable the information is in the book. But and this in this case, it's more. I mean, this was the seventh edition, but it was done. It was 1943, so this is a way back. But it has a wonderful. I mean, just formally, I mean, it's a beautiful little book here. But a lot of the terminology and psychiatry has changed quite a bit since the 1940s, especially around sexuality. Um, in any case, what I had done is with this one is I had used the book to scale again and basically reproduced it, but taking page spreads that were going more or less alphabetically. I remade the title page to, which I thought was kind of nice, adding my own little, my BFA in communication arts and design and an MFA in visual studies, which I thought was kind of a play off of all of that kind of, you know, credentialism. So anyway, I'd gone back to that folder, that envelope that had all those pictures of me that were made by other people. And I started to match those with terms that I was finding in the book. So in this case, adolescence is pretty easy. Kind of, and this is a picture of me as a teenager here, long, obligatory 70s long hair. So the convention in all of these is um, the term that is referenced on the page goes through my eyes through here. So it's sort of partially like I'm looking through the term, or conversely, it's sort of blocking out my vision, or my, kind of like trying to obscure my identity like they used to do in tabloids when they would put the black bar over someone's um, eyes like that. That was before people paid to actually be in the tabloids for such things. Anyway, so these are all, again, pictures of me. And this is this is sort of like a dementia kind of a thing through here. And, it goes through pretty much alphabetically. And Abecedarium is an alphabet book. So this is a Rorschach guy through here. And yeah, so actually there's I think Bainbridge has a copy of this. I'm pretty sure they have a copy of this. Oh, yeah. This is me as a Cub Scout in a parade in 1963. Yeah. So anyway, this was, a little bit of cathartic. Polymorphous perverse. I'll have to read you this one because it's a term to describe the pregenital phases of sexual activities natural in infants, but to be regarded as perversions when active in adult life. Anyway, so lovely to kind of pair that with a kid, baby. So, yeah, so it goes through, and the nice thing is the index I went through and I made reference to the terms that were actually being highlighted in each page spread, and then followed it with the as much information that I had about the portrait, when it was made, where it was made, who the photographer might have been, if I could remember, on through that. So it's not technically in the autobiographical series, but it's certainly not numbered series, but it certainly falls into that category, since it's all about me. Oh my. Excuse me. So moving ahead in time, this one is a quickie here. This is a book that I had made. It started out as a wall piece, a gridded wall piece, that turned into a book, but you'll see how easily, kind of logical that became. But it's a book that comes in this little kind of like tall fabric bag here. So I remember as a kid going to weddings in the 60s, and there'd be these like little sachets of Jordan almonds, sitting on the table right next to the coffee cup with filtered and non-filtered cigarettes in it, so that you could smoke and have your candy as well. So this guy is it is well, you'll see at the end, it's all kind of comes together, but this is a portrait of my partner, Keith, and me. A friend had offered to make a sort of a formal wedding portrait of us. So I had in mind this, this image of a British couple, Gilbert and George, who met in art school back in the 60s and had declared themselves as living sculpture, and had since gone on to be life partners as well as partners in their work. And I'll show you some examples of that, and you can see where this is like this is completely a reference to that work that they had done through here on that. So this was, the setting of this was in my garden, and the flowers were flowers that that I'd photographed out there. And this heavy outline, it makes it sort of like a stained glass window almost, and with the flat color as it goes through here. So, and you'll see that this is a convention also that they title and sign their work in through here. So you can take this, apart and assemble this together, and it makes it makes just a large portrait in through here. But I like that idea of kind of breaking this down and really getting a scanning of the way that uh, the image is actually read. Um, This one, these are all digitally produced on an Indigo printing system um, on that. And
Colorize them, Scott?
yes, question?
In this is Celine. Did you, so in the digital, once you'd scanned it, then you colorized it, or was the photo colorized before you scanned it?
Oh no, no, oh no, I did not. I was not married in a yellow suit. No. I get that question a lot. Uh, no, this was all, this was, I did a lot of manipulation in, blowing out the color. I made it black and white and then really heightened the contrast and then added drawings in through here and then, doing all the color separating. That was all done separately. Yeah.
And what kind of paper is it on?
This is just on it's just you know, I can't remember. It's a coated paper, and but it's like it's only like it's probably like a 32 pound. It's not a very heavy paper at all. On that, it's also very shiny, which I kind of like because the the works that Gilbert and George make are also they're huge, number one, but they're usually behind glass. So I like this image of them of one of their living sculpture performances back in I guess that was 1970. But let's see if some of but you can see these are very colorful, and usually they're together in one way or another. And again, this panel that has the title and all of this. So it's nothing, nothing original here for me, except the fact that it is me and I made it, and they're flowers from my garden. So, um, but anyway, and this was actually done as a wall piece for an exhibition about same-sex marriage back in probably about 2013 or so. Um, so that, it had a different kind of trajectory than some of the other works that I've done. In the fact that it kind of started as a wall piece rather than the other way around. A lot of times I'll do a book that ends up on the wall, or I'm thinking about it in book form, but then it can be displayed in the wall. Um, because of that, again, that idea of a book, how difficult it is to exhibit bookworks in a gallery or something, because, like a lot of times they don't have the staff to kind of keep an eye on things and whatever. So anyway, a lot of the things I've made are designed to be, displayed in different ways, or viewed in different ways, I guess. So Saga, this was a collaboration that I did with Skuta Helgason, My very best friend and father of my goddaughter. He's an Icelandic artist. He lives in New York, but we um, we were asked to do a book. It was sort of commissioned for the Journal of Artist Books, which was a journal that was published in the latter years out of the Columbia College in Chicago. And the Brad Freeman, the editor, would include books in with the magazine, which was really nice for the journal, really. So you had this really great kind of like scholarly thing, and then you also got, some artwork to go with it as well. So this was, and it's funny, it wasn't until just following Married with this, I just didn't really even see this until I was putting this presentation together. So this is Skuta and me back in a while ago. But this was a trip that I made to Iceland. And what we did was we were photographing, and when we got back home, each of us, we shared all of our images. So we started to, well, I started to make these collage works using the motif that is an architectural motif from the Harpa Center in Reykjavik, which is a convention center and concert hall. And it was designed by Olafur Eliasson, who's a Danish Icelandic artist. And it's based on a basalt shape here, which is, the stone that gets formed with like the volcanic, like the way that the lava cools and all this. Anyway, but it ends up with these wonderful like hexagonal shapes. So the ceiling of you can sort of see this is the building in the back here, but the ceiling was a mixture of glass and mirrored in this pattern. So when you were photographing it, you would get images of yourself or of other people in through there. So I use that as a convention for stitching together our combined imagery. And then Skuta researched traditional Icelandic sweater patterns, and that's where this comes through here. So that was, this was sort of like um, um, our trip. That's the first time that I had been there, so it was sort of an investigation of my approach as like a tourist and his re-entry as sort of like an expat in many ways, even though he gets back quite often, but isn't really as connected with the community since his life really is in New York and through there on that. So I brought this out because it's sort of funny. I'm fairly obsessive compulsive, if you hadn't noticed, but and Skuta is much more kind of relaxed with things. I had my part of this done way before he did, so I was I had to kind of like do something with it. So I did my own little maquette here, which uses all of my own imagery. Oh, another thing about something that was defined by the project is that the printing was a combination of duotone printing and four color work. So every other spread, it alternated between duotones and color and, through that. So that was a given. And so I kind of followed that here, but uh, Skuta's um, instead of Skuta's work, what I had done was to cobble together this landscape of like the lava flats through here, and then this sort of progression using, again, this kind of basalt hexagonal shape as like a tunnel. So what was happening is, this is basically kind of as you go through here, you're, you're going through this tunnel underneath, underneath and I'm not sure if that was underneath a little person's space where they couldn't disturb it or not, which is not an uncommon thing, but it was a pretty long tunnel. I don't think it was quite that much of a situation there. Anyway, so this was a little bit of a kind of a maquette that I did for myself, but I kind of like this inner, this kind of going back and forth between like the flatness of the collage and then this sort of concentric passage through the tunnel and out to the other side through there.
Scott, you
So are
said
there
you were a
any
book designer?
I'm sorry?
Did you tell us that you had worked in book design?
Yeah, I've done
So
typography and
that's I was pretty impressed with the imposition on that book about how the pictures lined up from all the different pages, and I
oh
find
well
that
that
particularly
yeah.
challenging
Well, I don't know if I had as much to do with that as the Brad did in the, in doing the
in the print shop.
though anymore, with the digital, it kind of takes care of itself. It's pretty amazing. So it's kind of do you want to see some more stuff? We're kind of at 10 o'clock. I don't know.
What's the most recent autobiographical piece you've made?
I'm sorry?
The most recent autobiographical piece you've
Oh,
made?
the most recent autobiographical. Um, I don't think I haven't really consciously done that since the like the mid 2000s. So no, it really hasn't. I don't think there's really been, but I do have more. Do have some more recent work that's more collaborative. Um, I was well, yeah, I have no. I should tell you, I have really no sense of time. So um, uh, you have to sort of clock me on that. The thing most recently that I've been doing, and again, this is a collaborative project, uh, which is another, and I had I'll fast forward to here because I've been involved with correspondence art and um, since the early 1970s. And what happened is, I think with a lot of people during the pandemic, I kind of kickstarted that activity, and I went through an old, I keep, being a paper person, I have an address book that I keep uh, in paper. So I was going through that, and I was sending out collage postcards to everybody in my address book. Um, and sometimes I would get stuff back. I probably got more things back that where people had moved than actually acknowledgement of that people had gotten things. But that's okay, It was a tough time. But then I got the idea of this project, which I call the Exquisite Matryoshka. And what it entails basically is this process where I would start with a collage on usually a postcard, and then I would put that into an envelope, and then I would take some element related to the collage that I made, and I would leave it on the outside of the envelope as a prompt to the addressee. So when the addressee, in this case, Martha, would get the envelope, she would do a response by what I had left there, and then put that in a little bit larger envelope and then send it to me with a little piece of something that related to what was there. And then it would keep going back and forth. So in this case, I think I had added this thing here, and then to Martha's prompt was this, was the actually the inside of this ended up on the outside of this. And so she started doing this, and then I guess she sent this to me, and I'm not sure exactly, but anyway, so you can see where there's this sort of like trajectory going along in this way, which has really been uh, kind of a great process in the sense that, you know, it's sort of like really low stakes. I mean, you're really just kind of, you're kind of uh, uh, just there with whatever, and then you are just bringing whatever it is to it. Um, so the fun part, of course, since you're sealing the envelope and it's going through, the person you're working with has no idea what's inside. You know what you've done, but you have no idea what the other person has done. So we have these openings where we'll usually, you know, get a few people together and, you know, have a glass of wine, and then we'll open the envelopes back and forth so that we can sort of see what's going on. That's that's a whole lot of fun. So the deal is I keep these until I get them photographed and documented. And then ideally, this is the only one that's actually happened. Um, but this is one that I did with Liz Howard here. And what I do is I give the originals um, back to my collaborator, and then I make these books that are basically a documentation of it. But it works out really nicely in book form here. So here we are again, starting with the um, postcard, and then the verso, and then going through to here uh, as we go forward on through this. So this sort of, in some ways, becomes the end product on this. And this is all done, this is all reproduced in, again, with the indigo printing processes and through here. But this was a rather nice, this one worked out really, really nice. And that we had, well, all of them actually that I've done it with, I think, about 5 or 6 artists now. But there's like this kind of simpatico that begins to, like, this was amazing. I mean, these two were like, wow, how'd that happen? And then ending up the last one I got, which was underneath this scrim of, you know, super, which was kind of great. So yeah, so that's kind of that's been but something that's been going on since I think I started it. Actually, no, I started it with just myself because I had uh, I had I tried with, in fact, I sent one. I started with my friend Scooter, and I sent him one, and then I never heard anything back. And then had a local, a local artist friend. I sent one to her, and then I got a text back saying, "Oh, thanks for the nice collage postcard." Um, so then I started just doing it with myself because I thought, well, I mean, I wanted to get some mail. So this was the first one that I had done with myself. And what I did is I bound this one into as a more as a book. So it's sort of like this, like a fold book. So this could very easily be, you know, be displayed because it sets up. on that way. Here, it's getting kind of, yeah. And then the exquisite, so the title references the exquisite corpse, that surrealist game, and then the matryoshkas, the Russian nesting dolls. So it's a combination of those pardon me, of those ideas on through that.
Those are very cool. Do you want to talk about your Revulsion series at all?
I'm sorry, the what series?
The series that you did in 2016, the Magnetic Fields of Revulsion. I think that's, I don't have it in front of me here.
Oh, you
Or
know,
should we not?
I'd prefer not to.
Okay.
It's funny. In fact, it was the that book fair. I brought that to the book fair in Pittsburgh, in Pennsylvania, and that was right before the election. And it really was like, it was really like kryptonite. I mean, people, it has an interesting kind of package, but then when I told them what it was about, it was like, it was literally a repelling. There's the image on the cover is sort of like this magnetic, like the way you put you get that force field of the same the polarization of the same. Oh man. Anyway, yeah, I'd prefer. I'd actually
Okay.
prefer not to do that one.
For those who, for the rest of it, it's a series. It's a very political, and it was interesting to me because all your work that you showed us tonight intentionally is very personal.
Yes.
And so I when I was looking at the pictures on your website earlier, I noticed that and I was like, oh, here's all these very, very personal books. But I guess our response to our political situation is very personal. So
Yeah, I can actually, you had mentioned about Lost Horizons, which I pulled out because that actually is a good um, combination between the personal and the political. I mean, more consciously. Um, let's see, where did that go? Oh, it's back over here. Um, because it's this one's a fairly small. Well, this it started out. I brought the. It started out as an addition, a small addition work here, um, which uh, Lost Horizons here. There's another book that I did. It was called Far Horizons. That was more a little bit more. It was cheerier. But this one was it's kind of it's a craft item for sure. It's this strap concertina binding that has all these um, special sewings and stuff on the side here. I don't know if I have enough space to really show this, but this is these the pages are actually these kind of gatefolds that come out of the center, like reverse gatefolds here. Um, and it goes through, I'll just show you a couple of these because it's easier to see in the smaller edition. But this one, it takes landscapes that mean something to me. And then there is a typographic intervention of some sort that is imposed into the landscape that melds, graphically has some meaning, but it's actually got some, it does actually have textual relations in through here um, on that. So this was like a very difficult thing to kind of manage, but I did this little uh, you know, a trade edition through here. Let me see if I can get a little closer on that. And this one, so Lost Horizons through here. And, I use the same images and it's the same kind of a format and through here. But what I did is on the Verso, oh, where is it? Yeah, over here. I added this, these were all in a separate little thing with the big edition. But on this one, I printed these right in on the back of the pages through here on this. So this starts off at this is downtown Rochester. It's called the High Falls District, and there's this wonderful waterfall in this basin and through here, and a pedestrian bridge and the old Kodak building and whatever. So this was made in, what was the year that? 2008. So it wasn't too long after 9/11. I'd been working on this for a while, but this, well, this is a good example. This panorama is it's actually a municipal golf course in Virginia, where my parents lived, and um, my brother, my head injured brother, lived with my parents had to live with them for a number of years because they just couldn't find, there was no long story there. But anyway, after my father used to take my brother with him when he would play golf out here. And then when he died, when my father died, I brought my brother here well, basically to break the news. Because he was at that point he was living in a care facility. Anyway, but the text in through here was from another book that I did. It was called Prayer, and it's basically the Lord's Prayer. But what I did was to take every word, like our. You can see like the O and the U and the R. I outlined the letter forms and then just stacked them on top of each other. So our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And it went through the whole poem that way. But it was square, and because of the pacing of the reading of it, like Our Father who art in heaven, it always worked out to be anywhere from 1 to 6 kind of beats, which is basically like spots on a die. So the whole book, the prayer book, is basically like turning the pages and looking at like literally rolling the die, and then as you're reading the prayer. Anyway, and this was my father's favorite. He sang in the church choir. He loved that hymn that was, so this set to music. Anyway, so that's kind of the long story about how a lot of these things are sort of structured from personal experiences. This one is, of course, much more personal. This one is more political in the sense that this was the Susquehanna River in Pennsylvania, which I would drive down to my parents who lived in Virginia. I would drive this, forever. This was right after 9/11, and there were, a lot of flags and stuff. This one, you can't really see it in this image, but, someone had very, like there was a twisty, there was a safety pin. It was like whatever they had to kind of attach this onto this fence that looked out. It was an overlook looking out over where a tributary came into the river through here. But the text, which you probably can't read, but it says, God bless America, open while remodeling. God bless America, model shed sail. God bless America, united we tan. God bless. So these were little signs that I saw driving down this route on these, there's the signs that you can put the letters, the letters in, And a lot of times they were on trailers and they had lights on them and they lit up. But what they had done is they had added like God Bless America, but they neglected to take away the advertising text that was already on there. So you got these really weird, you know, um, combinations of United We Stand perennials, 3 for $10. God Bless America, family runs, God Bless America, Crunch preseason. Anyway, these kind of awkward juxtapositions that were sort of telling to me in terms of like the how we were kind of dealing with these situations. This one's very direct because this is a panorama of a lily pond that was along Henry Hudson Park down basically in the shadows of the World Trade Towers. And when I did that residency in New York, which was in 1999, I would walk down the river and I spent a lot of time at this spot because there was a waterfall. It was a really lovely place to be in the city because it was very calming and quiet. I mean, there's lots of people, but it was all, I mean, this is like literally debris was coming down into this. So the text here was an article from the New York Times that was describing the fall of the second tower. So, again, using this text to kind of interrupt the serenity of this spot that, again, personally, but then you don't really need to know all of that though it's kind of, in through this. Anyway, so, and it goes on back to and ends up down along the Genesee River, looking back on a different view of downtown Rochester. So the river, that waterfall is where this water is heading in through there. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really a unique book. I love that fold out and then the description and the combination of the text and photos. I have so many notes of the from the books. I was like, oh, I love that idea of like on your coming to terms book where you combined the original text of the book with your own text, the title page and the index, but made it look like it was all the same book, or the um map book
Yeah.
with all of those old maps. I mean, I remember drawing maps like that all the time, and it just what a great collection it is in a book like that. And
Yeah, and it's sad how much we've kind of, well, the ephemera um
yes.
is what we've really lost, I'm afraid. And that's kind of sad. Yeah.
Well, and in your married book, what I really liked was how you could really focus on that element of the picture in the book form. You know, if it was hanging on the wall, yes, you could look at that and see that big picture, and it was a nice picture and it was very graphic and interesting. But then in the book form, you look at just a little piece of it and you look at the buttons or the cuffs or the flower, and that was it just gave it a whole new way to look at that picture that I found very engaging. I really have an appreciation for you calling your books visual books because the story is in the visual images and it's really fabulous.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you for sharing.
Well, that's I mean, I didn't talk about my background uh, uh, in graphic design and photography, because I, I went to design school at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond back in the early 70s. And at that time, the department was sort of in transition, but they photography was a requirement in the design school. They didn't have a photography uh, program, but they did have. I think I had to take I ended up taking a class every semester that I was in design school because I really kind of, you know, liked doing it. Um, and I incorporated photography into my design problems that were being given. And then when I went to grad school up here at the Visual Studies Workshop in Rochester, I ended up working for, well, I worked for Afterimage, which was their magazine, and I also worked with the press, Visual Studies Workshop Press, working with artists and facilitating their projects. And so at this end, I mean, I ended up really exercising and learning more about like design, where in undergraduate I had a degree in design, but I kind of learned a lot more about photography. So this weird, I have this odd perspective, I think, on those two disciplines because of the way that I was kind of introduced to them, or the way that I used them. And I've always kind of like been a little outside the box, I think, in terms of those things. Um,
Well, I think I'm going to end the recording.